Hey guys, we're gonna be reacting to some BuzzFeed Unsolved. The missing identity of the Lady of the Dunes. Let's go. I also finished up the
This week on
hacking
BuzzFeed
mission.
Unsolved, we sift through the case of the Lady of the Dunes.
I'm working on the other
a
half.
murder mystery from Cape Cod with theories that stretch from the Boston Mafia to Hollywood. Jesus Christ.
What?
This is the turtleneck, the jacket, and just went in for a slow sip for your coffee. It was insufferable.
I'm
the whole time.
intrigued. I've never been to Cape Cod. I don't know much about it other than, what is it, like some Gatsby bullshit going on?
It's like a party town. People go there to bang it out. You could probably catch cod there.
Yeah.
And hell, I might bring a cape.
But here's the thing. You put a bunch of rich people together, oh, there's going to be some murder. All rich people are murderers.
Yeah, it's true.
Fancy coming
Well,
from
it's
you
true
and
that
your
a lot
silk
of
turtleneck
a
here.
lot of rich people are
$11 on
do
Amazon.com.
criminal stuff.
Anyway, yes, safe
Yeah.
to say all
Yeah,
rich
I'm
people are
boycotting
murderers.
I don't think
Amazon.
that's what this case is
Okay,
about, nor do
agree
I
to
think that's a
disagree.
factual statement.
Agree to disagree.
Okay. Yep. Drink your coffee. Drink it. Go ahead. Oh, you son of a... All right, Leo, let's just get into this.
On July 26, 1974, 12-year-old Leslie Metcalf was returning from the beach in Provincetown, Massachusetts with her family in the late afternoon. A local dog had followed them, and when it took off barking, Leslie decided to run ahead of her parents and follow.
First off, got any guesses what that dog was barking at?
I don't know. I don't like dogs.
Me
I've
neither.
run for exercise. And a rotten Dalmatian.
One of my uncle's dogs followed me out of the property. It's not supposed to leave the property, and almost out of the neighborhood. So I had to stop and throw rocks at it to make it stop following me. I know that people are gonna say that's mean, but I have beef with that dog. It tried to lick me after it ate its own shit. And my uncle got that stupid fucking dog right at the same time he got a hernia. So he should have kept the receipt for the fucking dog.
Jumped right up against a fence and started growling for no reason, just because I was passing. I'm a nice
Well, you're a
man.
stranger.
Well, they do hate squirrels. Do you think he thought there was a little bushy squirrel tail on your face?
No, it was dark out. I worry about this. If I ever have kids, them running away, then you see parents with their kids on leashes, and you're like, well, that's wrong.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, I'm like, maybe put your kids on a leash.
Spent that whole time, didn't even answer the question.
What was the dog barking at?
That was incredible.
Anything. Dogs bark at...
All right, that would have been an
Dogs
acceptable...
bark at mailman. Dogs bark at a bird in a tree.
That
Dogs bark
anything
at a
would have been an
rock.
acceptable answer. You'd be a horrible contestant on Family Feud.
Yeah,
In
he
the
would.
dunes at Race Point Beach, amongst the scrub pines a mile east of a ranger station, Leslie discovered the decomposing body of a naked woman, approximately 5 feet, 6.5 inches tall,
Around my
145
height.
pounds, between 20 and 40 years old, lying on one side of a beach towel, with her head on top of a folded pair of jeans and a blue bandana. It's estimated the body had been lying there anywhere from 10 days to 3 weeks before being discovered. Her head had been crushed on the left side, and she had been almost entirely decapitated.
Oof.
While no weapons were found, it's believed that something akin to a military entrenching tool was used to nearly sever the head.
Holy shit.
Also noticeably absent from the corpse were the victim's hands,
Oh,
presumably
that's never
removed to
good.
avoid identification via fingerprints.
Well, that's a lot.
I would
Yep.
say that when you look at the details of the crime scene, it would seem that this was done by somebody who wasn't, I guess, like an amateur. Also insane that it had been there for 10 days to 3
It's
weeks.
a long time.
Long
the body
ass time.
goes through some stuff.
But even from beyond that, like beyond the state of the body when you find it, 10 days to 3 weeks is a long time for it not to be discovered.
Yeah.
Out there on the dunes, man.
It's wide, it's expansive, though it is only a mile away from the ranger station. It would suggest that maybe the killer is a little bit more ballsy than let on.
Or they just know that the ranger is a doofus who's not good at their job.
The violent state in
That
which
could
the
be a
body was
possibility,
left
too.
obviously suggested murder, and with no apparent sign of a struggle at the time, authorities believed that the
I'm wearing
unidentified
glasses. You
victim
used to
would
be
have
face
known
when you
her
push them
murderer.
up a lot.
Some of the only evidence of another person being around were size 10 footprints that indicated a heavy person who was running, and Provincetown Police Chief Jimmy Meads said the killer likely drove the victim to the dune in a four-wheel drive sand vehicle to sunbathe.
It's interesting to me that the footprints lasted that long.
Could have also been someone who just stumbled upon the body and was like,
Yeah.
you know what?
We run into this a
I
lot,
don't know
though.
about this.
If you saw a body, would you call it in?
Yes, I
You
would.
have to, right?
I would,
Yeah.
but I can understand where if, let's say you got a warrant out, maybe you didn't pay your taxes, you stumble upon a body, you don't want to invite any of that. It's probably safer to walk away sometimes.
You do
Yeah.
usually paint yourself as suspect number one when
Mhm.
you call in something,
Yeah.
which isn't that fair.
So you stumble upon this body. What's your tone when you tell them?
Hey, how's it going? I just, Oh, you can't sell too much panic in the voice.
How's it going?
I found a body out on the beach. We should probably, you should come out here and pick it up.
Send out the paddy wagon.
Send out your boys. My kids play on this beach.
Oh, I didn't know you had kids on this. Were you lying about that to them? Because that's,
Oh shit, would I be?
you're lying.
Oh, now they have that on tape.
My kids play on this beach.
And now those cuffs are going to be on my wrists in probably a day's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
It'd be-
I just got arrested. This is why people don't call it in. I just got arrested.
Despite using bloodhounds, studying missing persons bulletins, scouring the registers of local lodgings, and looking into anyone who had a permit to bring their vehicle into the area, police turned up nothing. Margie Childs, a Provincetown local, noted in 2019 that the fact that no one could identify the Lady of the Dunes in the tight-knit community was very strange.
That does
In
seem
their
a bit
attempt to
odd.
ID the victim, police turned to the victim's extensive dental work, worth thousands of dollars at the time, and noted to be of New York style.
What the fuck is New York
Details
style?
of the dental work were sent to every dentist in Massachusetts, published in 2 dental journals, and distributed to organizations like the FBI and Interpol. No one came forward recognizing the work.
So they can't identify the victim. They looked at the dental work, which is, I guess, of New York
Some
style.
big apple choppers.
As a Chicago guy, more into deep dish dental.
Did you have that like in your notes app last night?
I did. Nailed it.
Weird. So no one even in the community is missing. Yeah, we know. We did it. So no. Yep. So. Yeah. Huh?
It's good.
So no one in the community is even missing.
No. Now the dental work is interesting to me because that is a fair amount of work being done. So obviously this person is not somebody that just wandered in off the street.
When they say New York dentistry,
What does it mean?
I have no idea what the hell.
that just means fancy. Like this was clearly done by, not your country bumpkin dentist.
I have no idea. My dad's a dentist himself. Never
Yeah.
heard him referred to California dentistry.
The body was exhumed in 1980, so blood samples could be taken and an approximation of the victim's face could be molded from the skull. Photos of the resulting bust were sent around the country in the hopes that someone would recognize it. No identification resulted.
Dang.
20 years later, in 2000, the body was exhumed again when a bone fragment was taken to test a potential lead. That again turned up nothing. In
Oh.
2013, the body was exhumed for a 3rd time to obtain even more DNA. Still, nothing has produced a positive identity for the Lady of the Dunes.
So you can go to the
This
purple
has been
color
hanging
now.
over the community for decades now.
Yeah, they did 3 exhumations. Exhumations? That's a word, right?
Yeah, I think so.
They did 3 of them. And still, after
That's a
all
lot.
that, for that to produce no kind of DNA evidence of like who this person is, it's kind of insane to me because 1974 is not that long.
Why don't they just put it into like a DNA, like one of those Ancestry.com things?
Long ago.
No.
You would think that DNA would be fresh enough that you could figure out this person's
Yeah.
identity.
Oh, just also weird that nobody's like, hey, I don't know where my friend is.
Which makes you think this person could be off the grid in sorts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is a lot of shady shit out there.
With an unidentified murderer and an unidentified corpse, it's time to launch into theories. Our first theory is about the victim's identity and comes from the Tumblr of Joe Hill, the son of Stephen King.
Is this the first time Tumblr has played
This is
into...
the first time Tumblr has made an appearance.
The Tumblr crowd is such a
Oh.
vocal fan
Battery's
base of our
down.
show.
They're very supportive of us all. They always have been. That being said, I'm pretty sure this Tumblr user is not. But I could be wrong. He's the son of Stephen King. So maybe.
Well, I'll tell you, if anyone knows horror, it's going to be the son of Stephen King.
Hill's interest in the Lady of the Dunes was sparked after reading Deborah Halber's book, The Skeleton Crew, How Amateur Sleuths Are Solving America's Coldest Cases. About an hour into a 40th anniversary screening of Steven Spielberg's classic film Jaws, Hill spotted an extra with a face that looked eerily familiar.
Yeah, it does look like her.
The face reminded him of the composite drawings of the Lady of the Dunes. The extra appears in jeans and a blue bandana, the same
Coincidence,
clothing
maybe?
found with the Lady of the Dunes. While this may at first sound like a simple coincidence of wardrobe, Jaws was filmed on the Cape during the summer of 1974, meaning the scene in question may have been filmed weeks or days before her death. An Entertainment Weekly reporter contacted Universal about the identity of the extra, but they could not locate a record, and the casting director had already died.
Well, that
Hill
sucks.
admits his theory could be bogus, but says, quote, if nothing else, it's a pretty good little ghost story.
I think that was the lady. I remember hearing about it being sold. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's her. And I think she was... I know I'm already spoiling it, but this case is solved now. But I don't think they found her murderer. Oh yeah, it is a possibility. Like it wasn't confirmed.
End quote.
That's some good lore.
But what are the other two
It does look
theories?
similar to the composite. It would potentially explain her being an outsider.
Stevie Spielberg shows up in town. It's going to attract people from out of town. that
I mean, I know
want
he
to be part of the
spoiled it,
action.
but I still
He
want to
wasn't
finish
a big
watching
director
this.
at that point, so the security around that probably
Relax.
wasn't as stringent.
Yeah.
Also, kind of crazy that that set was so loosey-goosey that they don't even have notes of the names of all the extras.
I wonder if that's because it was just such a long, drawn-out debacle
Yeah,
that they just sort of, a lot of that got lost in the shuffle.
that could be
or-
it.
She did truly sneak onto the set,
Yeah.
and when they were shooting, just walked into the shot. Also, it fits the timeline,
Yeah.
fits the location.
Mhm.
She kind of looks like the person.
This project.
Frankly, Joe Hill, I think you've done it.
Yeah.
Let's just end the episode there.
Well, we can.
Okay, let's move on then.
For our next theory, we move from movie monster to real-life mobster, Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger, you may recall, was the infamous Boston mob leader who was beaten to death in prison while serving 2 life sentences for 11 convicted murders, and it's widely thought he was responsible for many more. In 2015, a woman named Sandra Lee, who suggested her family was close with Bulger at the time of the murder and even called him Uncle Jimmy, told a reporter that the Lady of the Dunes bore a striking resemblance to one of Whitey's alleged murders. In particular, Lee believes the method of disposal and attempts to avoid identification of the body are strikingly similar to the murder
Yeah,
of Debbie
it could
Davis.
be.
In Davis's case, the victim's teeth were removed,
But we
presumably
do
in an attempt to
know
avoid
that
identification.
it's this
Davis
rich
was
chick.
strangled to death, and the Lady of the Dunes showed signs of strangulation. Davis's hands, however, were not removed, and the Lady of the Dunes' teeth were left in place.
Yeah.
Bulger had
I wonder if the missing hands are because of like animal predation. I know I just like the Wikipedia article, but I didn't give it a good look because I'm still getting used to the new glasses.
has never been officially associated with the case as a subject. Lee also claims to remember seeing Whitey in Provincetown at the time of the Lady of the Dunes' murder. What's more, for some reason, Lee has also claimed that when she was 9 years old, she discovered the unidentified body on the morning of July 26, 1974, before Leslie Metcalf, but did not alert authorities.
I was starting to see what she was selling there for a second, but then she mentions
Yeah,
that she
press
saw
X
the
to
body
doubt.
and didn't identify it, which makes her kind of just seem like a kid making up a tall tale.
Is she the one who also saw Whitey in town?
Yes, that's what she says. This is a word of mouth theory here. However, Debbie Davis also was found near a shoreline, so there's similarity there, but like I said, the hands weren't cut off.
But teeth removed. So still care taken to mask the identity in some way.
Whitey Bulger does fit the description of the professional that I was suggesting earlier. That
Yeah.
this didn't seem like an amateur killing or perhaps even a crime of passion.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
some sort of different
I don't know
mobster.
enough about him to really peg him for this, but I guess all we really need to know is that he was a vicious murderer.
True. So that's why, like, if we're theorizing that he may have murdered somebody else, I don't really feel too bad about it.
Our third theory is that serial killer Haddon Clark, who is currently serving 70 years in prison for theft and the murder of 2 women, was responsible for
Wait, you have to murder at least 3 people to be a serial killer.
the murder. This theory was first presented by Haddon Clark. Speaking with journalist and former police officer Alec Wilkinson, Clark claimed that while staying with his grandfather on Cape Cod in 1974, he lured a woman into the dunes, where he struck her in the head with a surf casting fishing rod. He claimed he then retrieved a saw from his truck and removed her hands, using some of her fingers as fishing bait and burying the hands elsewhere. Casting doubt on Clark's claims is the fact that the details he provided about the murder were featured in newspaper articles. Clark also has a history of claiming involvement in
So
other
he was
murders that
lying.
never checked out.
Bullshit. What a liar.
Yeah. Don't even give him the satisfaction.
Nah.
We should just move to the next
Yeah.
thing. Let's just swipe
Yeah.
away.
Go to hell, dude.
Our final theory holds that the Lady of the Dunes was herself a criminal. The fact that her hands were removed
Well, we know that she was a drug addict.
could suggest
From
that
the
the
Wikipedia
murderer
article.
knew the victim's fingerprints would be on file somewhere. This led authorities to suspect the lady could be Rory Jean Kessinger. Kessinger
No, it's
had
actually
a criminal
the Ruth
history
lady.
of bank robberies and attempting to shoot police, including once in a hospital with the officer's own gun. When the Lady of the Dunes was discovered, Kessinger had recently escaped from Plymouth County Jail, just across Cape Cod Bay from Provincetown. While awaiting trial, someone was able to get Kessinger a hacksaw blade, which she used to free herself. In classic escapee fashion, she used tethered bed sheets to rappel out of a window and was met by a car that drove her away.
I'm a guard at the prison.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be making sure nobody gets out. I'm up there on the little tower. I swing the spotlight because I hear a commotion and see a woman crawling down the side of the building. I go to sound the alarm, and then suddenly I put it down. I'm so impressed with
What?
this lady. Is she a monster? Is she
I
bad?
mean, she did attempt to shoot a police
Yeah.
officer with his
Hey.
own gun.
But,
What
you
are
know,
you gonna do?
ACAB.
Not that. That's what you're
But,
gonna do.
again, she's a
But
criminal.
I'm so charmed by her savviness.
She just tied bed sheets together. That's like
It's
some fairy
cool.
tale shit. That's not even
Most
creative.
people, and it worked. Most people would probably scoff at that and say, well, that's only in cartoons. Nobody does
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, but I think if you're sitting around in a locked cell long enough, you'll think of anything.
Yeah, and you ought to. I mean, assuming you're
So
a
there's
cool
nothing-
lady like this.
there's
What did she do?
nothing-
She just robbed some banks?
And attempted to
Baller.
shoot.
Well, the cop was, probably being mean to her.
It said the sculptural bust made of the Lady of the Dunes after the 1980 exhumation had a striking resemblance to Kessinger. In the late 90s, authorities tracked down Kessinger's mother, who agreed to give a saliva sample to see if her DNA meant she was the mother of the victim. The theory was so strong that it's what led to the body being exhumed again in 2000. Both tests
Bad,
failed in
wasn't
determining
it?
whether it was a match, which led to another test in 2002 that proved conclusively that there was no match between Kessinger and the Lady of the Dunes.
What, but did she just disappear then?
Yeah.
And I think,
So she may be,
I mean, that's mission accomplished for someone
she
who
may be out
escapes
there.
prison. You
She
know?
actually may be watching this
She
video.
could be
and
dead
giving me
somewhere
lavish
else.
praise upon
This
her.
is the first theory that we've had that has, I guess, a somewhat happy ending. Because
Maybe.
if you escape prison, the goal is to not be caught.
Yeah.
And if we found out the Lady of the Dunes was her, she got got.
Yeah, if
So-
you're watching this episode, don't be tweeting like, that lady's so cool, because then the law's going to remember, like, oh, yeah, she escaped.
Yeah,
They're
that's
going to be
true.
going after her, so just...
This case has been closely followed in the more than 45 years since Leslie Metcalf discovered the Lady of the Dunes, resulting in numerous other theories with varying degrees of plausibility. In the 1980s, a psychic told Provincetown Police Chief Jimmy Meads that the victim was a Canadian
don't
nurse
trust-
named either Carolyn
No.
or Marilyn O'Leary. While the
We
word
know
of a
she's
psychic
wrong.
may not seem like enough to merit further scrutiny, another person had also reported the victim to be an American nurse named Carolyn O'Leary, who had gone missing. Upon investigation, authorities found O'Leary to be very much alive.
Ha!
Great job, psychics. What a shock.
What do you think about that investigative technique?
I mean, I think all psychics are bullshit, so
Yeah.
I don't care.
I will say that there has to be at least one case that a psychic actually solved. Otherwise, why would we keep using them?
no scientific evidence that psychics have solved crimes.
No one's using them. I think they're just
Yeah.
like, you must believe me, and then some dipshit.
I mean, I sometimes like get like my fortune like online just for shits and giggles.
At the station is like, I think we should hear this lady out.
Despite over 4 decades of dead ends, investigations continue. According to journalist Mary Ann Bragg, after 3 exhumations, authorities currently have the skull, ribs, the left scapula, the right scapula, a tissue sample of a leg, and hair samples in their possession. Cape officials are looking into a new method for identifying the body using DNA evidence and genealogy. DAs from California who worked on the Golden State Killer case, which was
That was a
finally
big deal.
solved using genealogy records, have been brought over to look into the case. There's even a Twitter account dedicated to
I always kind of wanted to do like a DNA testing, just to help like solve any murders.
discovering the identity of the Lady of the Dunes. Still, an answer is anything but guaranteed. Prior to his death in 2011, Police Chief Meads stated that the only way to solve the case would be if someone on their deathbed wanted to clear their conscience before passing. Without that, it appears the identity of the Lady of the Dunes, as well as her murderer, will remain unsolved.
Nutso.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a crazy case. I gotta say, after all those theories, and this is not just because I love the film Jaws. I do think it's actually a very interesting theory.
It is interesting, but at the same time, I don't know if there's enough there.
Maybe.
And frankly, I'd like to enjoy the film Jaws without every time watching it being like, oh, it's the Lady of the Dunes.
The thing about the theory, though, is it doesn't solve the case. It just solves the identity of her. It doesn't have
Yeah.
any kind of bearing towards who the criminal or the killer is.
Yes, but once you figure out the identity, then
You could start opening up a network.
yeah, quite a prominent
Uh-huh.
one, I would say.
That is true. Well, we've once again failed.
Thoroughly upsetting story with no conclusion.
You know what? The turtleneck grew on me.
Thank you. How about that mustache?
No.
No. You know what? Let's look at the Lady of the Dunes. If Pete. Okay, so. Oh, Guy Moldovan. He killed her. It was her ex-husband. And it's unlikely she was in Jaws. Let's see, it should. Oh yeah, always a spouse. Oh, did he? Okay, so he's officially named as our killer in like just a couple of years ago, and oh wait, he's dead. So he didn't get any fucking jail time. And that light is bothering me. I gotta go fix it anyway. Good night. See you in the next one.